Halo sahabat aviasi, jumpa kembali bersama saya Ziva Narendra dari Aviator Indonesia. Hari ini settingnya agak berbeda dari episode podcast sebelumnya atau dalam event-event sebelumnya yang kami tayangkan di sosial media kami. Saat ini saya berada di Jepang, atau lebih tepatnya di angkasa Jepang. Kita di ketinggian 24.000 kaki. Hari ini kami terbang dari Bandara Haneda, baru saja meninggalkan Tokyo kurang lebih sekitar 20-25 menit yang lalu. Kita menuju ke kota kita Kyushu hari ini di ketinggian 24.000 kaki, baru saja melewati Gunung Fuji. Saya berada di dalam pesawat Pilatus PC-12 yang dioperasikan oleh perusahaan bernama OpenSky. OpenSky adalah sebuah aircraft management company yang berbasis di Tokyo, Jepang. Saat ini mereka mengoperasikan armada Pilatus PC-12 dan PC-24, dan kami memiliki sebuah kesempatan dan sangat beruntung untuk memiliki kesempatan untuk bisa bertemu mereka hari ini. Dan bukan saja bertemu, berbincang, tapi juga melihat sendiri operasionalnya di lapangan seperti apa. Jadi OpenSky ini memanage sebuah armada dengan berbasis fractional ownership pesawat atau berbasis membership. Tentunya sebuah skema yang mungkin teman-teman sudah cukup familiar ya, terutama di dunia bisnis dan charter aviation. Hari ini saya ditemani oleh Naoto Kameyama dari OpenSky, yang kami sudah bertemu beberapa pekan sebelumnya di Jakarta pada acara Asian Sky Forum bersama CEO OpenSky, yaitu Shigeto Honda. Dan hari ini kita akan berbincang sedikit dengan beliau seperti apa sih bisnis aviation di Jepang, dan bercerita sedikit tentang OpenSky. Mari kita simak. Naoto-san, this is a retake, so nice to meet you again, and it's a pleasure to meet you after our Asian Sky Forum held in June. I got to meet you and Shigeto-san, and I'm very intrigued and wanting to learn more about how business aviation is in Japan, and maybe you can introduce about your role in the company and also OpenSky, and then we'll get into getting to know what is it like to operate a private aviation in Japan.
Sure. Well, thanks for the opportunity to introduce ourselves. My name is Naoto from OpenSky. I'm in charge of operation in general for the company. Currently, we have two aircraft, one PC-12, one PC-24, and we are providing a fractional ownership program. Basically, our owners have shares in these aircraft, and we operate on behalf of them. We do the maintenance, we do the operation, and then we provide the maintenance and the insurance work. And this company was founded in 2018, and for the past 2 years we've been in operation. Yeah.
Well, before we started this flight, we're now at 24,000 feet. We were departing out of Haneda, which is one of the busiest airports in Japan, of course, aside from Narita. We were sharing runway and taxiway with the airlines. There were 5 aircraft ahead of us. But then, coming from the starting point where we entered the gate, the parameters, hopping inside of the aircraft, having the pre-flight and everything done, up in the air in less than 20 minutes. Is that the typical case for business aviation in Japan? Has that always been the case in other airports?
Well, it's certainly not have always been. The Japanese business aviation industry has been developing, and it's still developing even at this point. Haneda Airport is the most business airport in Japan, but they opened up for business aviation in 2011, not too long ago, and currently there are only 20 slots per day. But what we're trying to do is to help our business owners have comfortable experience with the private jet. So we are trying to be the best business jet operator in Japan, basically. As they cross the gate where we just come from, right, and we communicate with the crews so that we try to start the engine before customers arrive. If it's PC-24, we start one of the engines, and then once the passenger get on board, we close the door and head to the runway. For PC-12, it's a single engine aircraft, so once the passenger get on, close the door, start the engine, then we just get a clearance.
What is it, understanding business aviation in Japan, It's very rarely heard, especially for us in Indonesia. We want to get some perspective of how business aviation, corporate aviation, or maybe even general aviation is running in other countries. How flexible it is to have your own aircraft operations, or maybe even to own your own aircraft, knowing that maybe you can explain a little bit. Are there many Part 135 AOC license holders in Japan, or is it more towards Part 91 private aviation? What is it like?
So to answer your question, the flexibility is not there yet. If you look at the history of Japanese, general aviation, all the regulations were towards the commercial side. So the general aviation was really lacking the system in the first place. So there are a couple of charter operators right now, but to get AOC here also limit their operations. So what we do is to have a submarine registration in the aircraft and to be able to operate within Japan and also international flights, so that our owners can fly to their own destinations. Yeah.
In Indonesia, we like we've discussed over in the Asian Sky Forum, there's plenty of opportunity, but there are some challenges also pertaining to private aviation, such as airport slots. You mentioned before that in Haneda daily there are allowance of 20 slots per day, allowing different types of aircraft that are operating outside the airlines, of course. But what are some of the limiting factors that you mentioned before that prevents business aviation to grow even more? From our standpoint, back in Indonesia, there's of course the fiscal factor, the taxes, and then the flexibility with the scheduling, the permits for each flight, some of the day-to-day operational. What about in Japan?
Right. So definitely it's challenging in a way. I think it's similar challenges that we have. Getting a permit and also getting a slot in busier airports is also always a challenge. Especially in 100 airports, you can rarely get your desired time slot. But in other airports, the issues are a bit different. Getting a spot or getting the understanding from the airport management side, so that we can park the plane or we can get the departure permission and all that. But I think it's getting better in a way, and I think that's what we are trying to do, so that flying in Japan privately is going to be more convenient and more easy to travel.
Do you foresee that private aviation, especially with smaller inter-provinces, inter-city connectivity with aircraft such as the PC-12 or smaller jets, do you think in the foreseeable future that this type of flying can be more attractive towards the younger segment, or maybe up the younger generation travelers, whether it's for tourism, leisure, or business alike? Do you think there will be more opening segment in the near future?
Right. Sure. I mean, we're looking at both sides, both business and leisure. And for business, it makes very sense. If you leave Tokyo in the morning, go to a couple of places in Japan, and come back to Tokyo in the evening, and PC-12 is capable of landing in 800-meter runway easily and take off in a strip. And if you're traveling for leisure, you can fly to let's say small islands where it's not served by commercial airlines. So we can do island hoppings, we can do airstrips, landing and takeoff. So that's what we are capable of, and we're just trying to let our owners know that's something that we can do for them. Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about maintenance a little bit. Seeing that there are still very few FBOs and dedicated maintenance facilities, not only for specific types of aircraft, but for general and business aviation per se. Do you have certain challenges when it comes to day-to-day maintenance or maybe even scheduled maintenance?
So we, as our aircraft are registered on San Marino, we got the 145 from San Marino. But so I think we're fortunate to have all these skilled engineers to maintain these aircraft reliable all the time. But at the same time, we also understand that some aircraft owners are looking for more affordable, more economical, way to maintain their aircraft, because there are many, players for the general aviation maintenance. So we're also trying to get into it for the light jet category aircraft maintenance. We'll probably start with Honda jets, the lighter category jet aircraft. Yeah. And then you mentioned about FBO and something that we discussed about it before we took off. But it's something that we will have to work with regulators and local government in different airports. But my concern is that there's no FBO in Tokyo airports, both in Haneda and Narita, which kind of hinders the waiting time for passengers. Either they have to wait in the cabin or in the van, which is not as nice as in other airports like in Halim and Jakarta. So it's a matter of space, regulations, and who wants to do it and so on. But I think we will see some changes happening. We'll see, but it will take time.
We're nearing the session of this very pleasant interview, brief, but I also want to ask you about the membership system. In the past few years, especially prior to the pandemic, we've seen many platforms have been developed for private and charter aviation. It's a fractional ownership, of course, being the most traditional. Companies like NetJets have been doing so for 30 years, and then we see like shuttle ride type of flights for certain popular routes, and then we also have on like an application or digital based type of booking system. We've seen that especially in recent times. But do you think there will be, at least in the near foreseeable future, market for on the spot or spot charters or ad hoc people who may not want to get into the membership type of scheme or an ongoing subscription or fractional ownership, that just want to, I need to jump in from, let's say, from Tokyo to Kantai or Sapporo or Fukuoka, and I will pay such amount of money and make the payment, of course, have the payment done properly. But do you see that type of market, the most traditional of all, still viable in present day, knowing that there are so many ways to make payment now outside of cash and transfer?
Well, definitely, the charter market here is already bigger than fractional ownership, and I think it'll keep getting bigger as the number of visitors to Japan, continues to grow. But we will also consider getting the AOC to grow our business on that side as well. But for right now, we're committed and focusing on developing our fractional ownership, and keep this program more useful for the current owners. But surely, if we have the time to do it, we would definitely consider that as well. So, yeah.
Last question. Where do you see, or where do you hope to see OpenSky to become in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
Well, since last year, we've been discussing on our mission and visions, and our vision is to become the biggest business jet operator in Asia. And I think part of your presentation in Jakarta, I think the biggest operator is in China, about 40 jets, big, long range 40 jets. But as there weren't many big Japanese business jet operators before, but we will try to penetrate, the restricted industry and try to get more aircrafts. I think the first milestone will be like 5 to 8 aircrafts. Having a couple of bases and filling all these aircraft with all the business share owners with PC-12 and 24. So that's the first 5 to 10 years vision for us to keep growing, and have better programs for plane owners. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for this pleasant experience. It's a bright day. It's how do you say it? It's strikingly hot outside, but it's comfortably cool in here. Thanks to this very beautiful cabin layout. The crew have been so fantastic and accommodating, and you have been so courteous. I thank you for taking the opportunity to meet me during my short trip to Haneda, and I wish you and Naoto-San and OpenSky good luck. And we hope to see more of you guys. And I know business aviation is a small community. I know we can continue to support each other. And I wish you best of luck.
Thank you very much.
And itulah wawancara singkat kita bersama Naoto Kameyama dari OpenSky, dan semoga pembicaraan atau diskusi hari ini cukup memberikan gambaran kepada teman-teman sahabat aviasi sekalian mengenai dunia bisnis aviation ya, atau private aviation. Kita kenalnya di Indonesia mungkin dengan private jet, baik itu untuk keperluan pribadi maupun untuk bisnis. Tapi menarik sekali untuk kita mendapatkan sudut pandang yang berbeda dari negara-negara tetangga, baik Singapura, Malaysia, Jepang, bahkan sampai juga di Eropa atau Amerika. Dan kami dari Aviatori sebagai perusahaan konsultan penerbangan akan selalu berusaha untuk menggali dan mencari perspektif dari pelaku industri lain, sehingga kita bersama-sama bisa saling memperkaya wawasan dan tentunya berkolaborasi, sehingga kita bisa sama-sama mencapai dunia penerbangan yang lebih aman, lebih nyaman, dan tentunya semakin baik dari segala aspek, bukan saja di Indonesia tapi di dunia. Saya Zivan Arendra bersama Naoto-San. Terima kasih atas waktunya dan sampai jumpa kembali. Bye.